This is our side-by-side comparison of two back-to-back sailings on the NCL Aqua. Week 1, the Haven. Week 2, an NCL Suite with Vibe Beach Club access. Same ship, 1 week apart. We sailed both so you don't have to guess. We're going to walk through every category: embarkation, cabins, butler service, pool access, dining, the lounge, priority perks, and at the very end, the full pricing breakdown comparison. And that number surprised even us. I'm Leah. Doug's behind the camera at the moment, and we are all about the details. So let's go. So let's start at the pier, because that's where the comparison gets interesting immediately. When you arrive at the terminal, and this was Miami, the priority boarding signs say one thing: Haven. There's no suite sign. There wasn't a separate entrance, nothing that tells you as a suite guest that you belong over there. So we did what anyone would do. We followed the regular lines. What we didn't know is that your suite key cards are not at the regular check-in desk, so you will hit a wall. The staff will catch you, they caught us, and you'll be politely escorted right back to that Haven entrance. So let us save you the moment. If you are in an NCL suite, full suite with butler service, you walk through the Haven entrance, the sign just doesn't say it. Through the Haven entrance, both groups, Haven guests and suite guests, have full access to the pre-boarding lounge at the terminal. There's comfortable seating, there's a dedicated check-in staff, there's no standing in the general queue. This is a shared space. You're sitting alongside Haven guests and suite guests together, but it is a genuine, tangible perk, and it sets the tone for what the entire comparison is really about. The suite experience is closer to the Haven than most people realize. How close? We'll give you the specific numbers on that towards the end of this video, including exactly how many suite rooms versus Haven rooms exist on the Aqua, and what that means for crowd load at every single shared amenity. That number tells a real story, so stay with us. When it's time to board, both groups walk on together. The lollipop sign your escort carriers reads Haven and Suites. One group, priority boarding, first on the ship. But that's where the paths diverge. Haven guests were taken directly to the private Haven elevator. One key card swipe, you're inside the complex. Suite guests, so that was us this time, were taken to the Commodore restaurant. And this is where it gets genuinely interesting. The Commodore is where suite guests meet their concierge, and the briefing was received, frankly, nearly identical to our Haven briefing the week before. He went through the entertainment schedule, he covered priority show restaurants, with same seats, same process, same meeting points as the Haven, tender priority, same procedure, same staging location, port disembarkation coordination, same. And then the concierge pulled up the specialty dining reservations I'd emailed into pre-cruise concierge team in advance and walked through every single one, all to find some daylight between those two's experience. There wasn't any. They were all correct. After the briefing, we dropped our bags in the cabin and headed straight back to the Commodore, because this restaurant isn't just where you meet your concierge. For the entire sailing, the Commodore is the dedicated suite breakfast and lunch restaurant. No frowny face?
No, only good. We boarded the Norwegian Aqua again, and we're in the Commodore room.
Because, yeah, this is where you have breakfast and lunch for suites. And this is we'll be comparing this to Haven experience, but right now it's a beautiful restaurant.
Yeah.
Take a look.
Nobody in here.
We didn't expect that. We're going to give this the full treatment in section 5 when we get into dining, but file that away as we move through this. It matters as to the value equation more than you think. So here's where we land on embarkation. The suite experience gets you through the same priority entrance, once you know to go there, the same lounge, the same escorted boarding, and a concierge briefing that mirrors the Haven in almost every way. The one difference, where you go when you step off that gangway. Next up, the cabins, and there are some real differences here. Cabin comparison. When we walked into the Haven penthouse, the first word that came to mind was sophisticated. When we walked into the suite the following week, the first word was spacious. And here's the thing, depending on how you travel, one of those words matters a lot more to you than the other. So let's walk through it room by room, detail by detail. The Haven penthouse suite, it's dark. It's intentionally dark. It's deep tones, it's sumptuous fabrics, sophisticated lighting design. It feels like a very well-appointed hotel room that happens to be on a ship. The kind of room where you walk in and feel like somebody. The suite, and we had a family suite with a large balcony, is big, it's bright, it's airy. Light walls, open layout. It doesn't carry that same gravitas of the Haven. The furniture is a step down in quality and the overall caliber of the design is noticeably different, but, and this is where the comparison gets more interesting than we expected, noticeably different is not the same as noticeably worse to live in. Stay with us on that. Bed comfort to us was identical. Both are excellent. The Haven bed sits on a platform cabinet, so you store your bags underneath there. The Suite bed was an open space underneath, more practical for storage if you travel heavy and similar to all the rest of the cabins. But here's where the Suite does something that the Haven penthouse didn't. It has a separate bedroom with a door. That's the one we booked, the S7 Suite, family suite. Let us tell you what that actually means in practice. So every morning, our butler, Commodore, he would slip into the living room, leave hot coffee on the table, croissants alongside it, and quietly leave. We were still asleep in the bedroom with the door closed. We woke up to a ready breakfast without a knock, without an alarm, without anyone needing to coordinate timing. This is a genuinely elevated experience, and it's something the Haven penthouse, which has a chaise lounge and 2 chairs in the living room rather than a separate bedroom, does not offer in the same way. The Haven gives you the feel of luxury. The Suite gives you the function of it. So you have to decide what's more important to you. The Haven penthouse balcony is private. It's well furnished. It's got 2 pretty cushy chairs, good view, well proportioned. The Suite balcony in this particular family with large balcony is huge. It holds 2 full loungers and 2 chairs comfortably. There's no comparison as to the size of these. The Suite balcony is significantly larger. The chair cushioning is decent, not quite Haven level, but when you have twice the space, the equation tilts hard towards the Suite. If you spend meaningful time on your balcony, and we do, this may matter to you. Now, the Haven penthouse bathroom is where NCL invested visibly. Double trough sink, the kind you photograph. Larger shower, the toilet is tucked into its own nook with a door. If you travel as a couple and have any interest in coexisting gracefully in the morning, that detail is worth something. The Suite bathroom has a single sink, a slightly smaller shower, still well-sized, not a squeeze, and it's all one open space, no separate nook for the toilet. Now here's where we expected the Haven to kind of win on everything, and it mostly does in the bathroom, but the vanity handed us a surprise. The Suite vanity was better to use for me personally. The Haven penthouse vanity has these Hollywood-style lighting in the mirror. It looks beautiful, but the angle creates this weird shadow situation that's very difficult. It was difficult for me unless you close the curtains and turn other lights on. The Suite vanity has cleaner, more functional lighting, and the drawer underneath, the Suite drawer is actually deep enough to put your things in it. The Haven penthouse vanity drawer, which was odd, is just shallow enough that only paperwork fit. Your actual toiletries lived on the counter. Both have identical L'Occitane products throughout. We found identical robes, slippers, and towel quality, so that was all the same. The Haven penthouse living area has a chaise-style lounge set up with 2 additional chairs, but very elegant. The Suite has a couch that converts into a bed, generally useful if you're traveling with kids or family in the room. The Haven's high-tech motorized blinds and curtains, once you figure them out, there's something about pressing a button and watching the room shift from bright to blackout that feels very much like the experience NCL is telling you. The Suite has standard curtains. They do the same job, less dramatically. The mini fridge, Haven arrived empty. We filled it ourselves with drinks we picked up. The Suite arrived with bottled waters, all for a charge. But here's the one thing both cabins share that genuinely surprised us. The espresso maker. Identical machine, same quality, no upgrade in the Haven, no downgrade in the Suite. When the coffee is the same, you start to realize where NCL actually put their money in each room and where they didn't. While the Haven penthouse looks more luxurious, the Suite lives more practically, and that is an honest summary of this category. If you are someone who walks into a room and the feel of the space matters, the depth of the palette, the weight of the fabrics, the sophistication of the lighting, the Haven penthouse delivers that in a way that the Suite does not even try to match. If you are someone who spends your ship time in the room, sleeping later, working from the balcony, keeping family comfortable, maybe the Suite makes a compelling argument. Next up, the Butler and Concierge experience, and this is where we genuinely expected the biggest gap between the two. We were surprised. We said we expected to find the biggest gap between the Haven and Suite right here in the Butler and Concierge experience. But let's be honest about what we actually found, because the service story on this ship is more nuanced than we anticipated, and one specific moment from our Suite Butler is still something we talk about. In the Haven, your concierge introduction is a group experience. We were with about 10 other guests when we boarded. It's kind of an orientation style rundown, entertainment schedule, priority access briefing, the full picture. It's efficient and well run. Then you move to the concierge desk and you wait your turn to confirm restaurant reservations, go through your specifics, kind of iron out all your details. In the suite, we were taken to the Commodore. There were just 3 of us. One concierge, same rundown, word for word, the same information, same priority access, processes explained. There was no line at the end of it, though, because it was just 3 of us. He walked us through our dining reservations directly, one conversation, no waiting. Both were genuinely efficient. We dropped our bags and were exploring the ship within a similar window both weeks. But the suite experience felt more like a private briefing than an orientation. Whether that's because there are simply fewer suite guests at the moment or by design, we can't say for certain, but we can say it felt more personal and it set a tone. Both butlers introduced themselves on day 1, and we want to say this clearly. They're both seasoned professionals. You could tell immediately. These are people who know how to read a guest, how to set up a relationship, how to find out what matters to you without making it feel like an intake form. We came prepared, as we always do. Afternoon canapes requested, our timing set, preferences noted. Both butlers handled it without a beat. If you are in either category and you brief your butler well on day 1, you'll be taken care of, no problem, full stop. That's the baseline. Now let's talk about what happened above and beyond. So here's what separates a good butler from a great one. They see something before you think to ask for it. Our sweet butler, come on, did this twice, unprompted, without us saying a word. First, the morning coffee. We have an espresso machine in the cabin. We're perfectly happy to make it ourselves, but he connected the dots differently. He saw the separate bedroom, he saw the setup, and he offered to leave coffee and pastries on the living room table each morning while we were still asleep. Of course we said yes. And every morning that was waiting for us. We haven't stopped thinking about how small that gesture was and how much it shaped the rhythm of our days on the ship. Second, the balcony. We have a corner balcony that can comfortably hold 2 full loungers and 2 chairs. He took one look at it and suggested we might enjoy additional lounger out there. Not a standard question, not about how we might use it better. This is proactivity, and that is rarer than you think. Now, was our Haven butler less attentive? No, he was excellent too. But there's something to the math of a butler who covers fewer doors. We can't confirm exact room counts, that comes later in the video, but our sense was that our suite butler had more bandwidth to think about each guest individually. The Haven butler was responsive and professional across the board. The suite butler had the space to be anticipatory. There's a real difference between those 2 things. We want to be very careful here because we are not saying the Haven butler under-delivered. He did not. Everything we asked for, canapes, timing, in-room requests, candy for the grandkids, was handled promptly and graciously. The standard of care was very high. If we had not experienced the suite week after the Haven week, we would have left the Haven completely satisfied with our butler experience. The differences we are describing is subtle. It's the difference between a butler who takes excellent care of you and a butler who seems to think about you when you're not in the room. On this sailing on this ship, the edge kind of went to the suites. We were happy in both scenarios, but in an estimated 25 to 30% price difference conversation, these small edges matter. Next up, the category we expected the Haven Sundeck to shine. The Vibe Beach Club is right next door, and this story is a little more complicated than we expected. Here is something worth knowing before we get into the Sundeck spaces. The Haven Sundeck and the Vibe Beach Club are not on opposite ends of the ship. They are right next to each other, both aft, both on the same deck section. That proximity matters to this comparison because you are not choosing between dramatically different locations on the ship. You are choosing between 2 different environments that happen to share a wall. To be fair, Haven Sundeck has an additional floor, but let's walk through each one. So the Haven Sundeck is impressive on first look. It's new, it's colorful, it's well designed. There's real shade up here, finally, and the 2-story layout gives it a sense of scale you don't always find on a private ship space. The upper level is adults only, home to 2 hot tubs. The main floor has the pool, the bar, food service, and the food, by the way, was actually pretty good. One really nice feature to the Haven Sundeck is that they actually have a sauna and an ice room in the complex. Super nice touch for those that enjoy spa-like moments. But here's what the pictures don't tell you. We were sailing during spring break, and the Haven Sundeck reflects the makeup of whoever is booked in the Haven that week. It is a private space, but private only to Haven guests. It's not adults only. The lower deck was busy. The bar has a single row of seats out by the pool. When people were gathered there, it was lively and social fun, but it was just one row, and with a crowd, it filled quickly. Service from the bar to the loungers moved a little slow, not unacceptably so, but you noticed it. The upper deck is adults only, posted clearly, but during the sailing, staff were periodically redirecting younger guests back down to the main level. That's not a design flaw, it's just a reality of family ship during a family travel week, and it's worth factoring in when you're choosing your sailing date. What we expected was a sanctuary. What we found was a well-appointed pool deck with Haven-level amenities, which is genuinely good, but with the energy of a busy ship day. We want to be fair. On a different week, different sailings mix, the space might feel entirely different. Now, the Vibe Beach Club is keycard access only. You purchase a cruise pass. You can sometimes get day passes, I will say that, but they're hard to come by. It is a separate add-on cost, and we will factor that into the pricing section at the end, and your keycard gets you in. No keycard, no entry. Full stop. That single detail shapes everything about the experience on the other side of that door. It's adults only. Not posted as adults only, structurally adults only. The keycard enforces it, so the atmosphere that results from that is consistent regardless of which week you sail, regardless of which families are booked on the ship. You know exactly what you are walking into. The bar is enormous, a large circular setup that becomes the social heartbeat of the space. And the bartenders, we want to highlight it because it genuinely surprised us. They were entertainers. Within minutes, they had our names. With a few more, they had us laughing. If you have ever been somewhere and felt like the bar staff were part of the experience rather than just part of the service, you understand what we mean. Shade is generous throughout. The hot tubs are large, rectangular, more like soaking pools. And on sea days, they were popular. But the scale of them meant you were never crowded out. Service to the loungers were excellent, attentive without being intrusive, which in our experience is harder to execute than it sounds. Now, there is no food service inside the Vibe. That is one thing the Haven Sundeck has that Vibe does not. But here's the workaround, and it's perfectly functional one. The main buffet is immediately adjacent. You walk out, grab a plate, walk back in. There's table seating inside the Vibe specifically for this, so you're not eating off a lounger if you don't want to. Sea days get busy here too, and we want to be clear about that. The Vibe fills up, especially when people are not in port. But the adults-only structure meant the kind of busy felt different. It stayed relaxed. People were talking, laughing, reading. The bar was buzzing. So here's our honest version of the comparison. The Haven Sundeck is a beautiful space. It has more amenities, food service, a pool, more square footage across the floors. It is included in your Haven fare. If you sail during a quieter week with a different guest mix, it may deliver exactly the private retreat it promises. But on our sailing during spring break, it did not feel like a retreat. It felt like a very nice pool deck. The Vibe Beach Club costs extra. That's a real consideration, and we will give price to it later. But every single day we were on this ship, the Vibe delivered a consistent, calm, adult atmosphere with bartenders who made it feel like a place you belong. So how do you choose? Choose the Haven Sundeck if you are traveling with family, you want everyone close, you want food service poolside, you want spa-type amenities, and you're sailing during a shoulder season when the guest mix skews quieter and more adult. The space itself is genuinely impressive, and on the right week, it may well be everything it is designed to be. But choose the Vibe Beach Club if consistent adult atmosphere matters. More to you than amenities. You want a bar experience that actually becomes part of your day, and you are comfortable adding the past cost, knowing exactly what you are getting in return every single sailing, regardless of who is on the ship. Coming up next, exclusive dining. And this is a category that looks straightforward on paper, but has some genuine nuance beneath it. Now on to dining. On paper, this category looks like a clear Haven win. Dedicated private restaurant included in your fare? How does a suite compete with that? Here is what we found when we actually sat down at both tables, and it's closer than you think. The Haven restaurant is open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day of your sailing. Sea days, port days, it didn't matter. That consistently is genuinely valuable, and not every cruise line offers it across all three meals. The food is really good. We want to say that clearly because what we're about to say next could sound like a complaint, and it's not quite that. The menu does not change. Same breakfast selections every morning, same lunch, same dinner every evening. This is not a daily rotation. No chef special that reshapes the choices. What you see day one is what you see on day 7. NCL knows this. It's been like this for a very long time. And NCL's answer to it is specialty dining. They have built that answer directly into your booking. The Free at Sea promotion includes dining credits. On a 7-night sailing, you are typically looking at 3 specialty dining meals, including in your package. If it's shorter, it's going to be less. And you can remove Free at Sea, but for the most part, most people leave that on. NCL is essentially telling you, enjoy the Haven restaurant or go elsewhere for variety. It is designed as a complement, not a complete solution. So in practice, most Haven guests use the restaurant heavily for breakfast. It's lovely, quiet, private morning. And then they mix specialty dining in the Haven restaurant for lunches and dinners throughout the week. Suite guests have the Commodore. And this requires a little explanation because the Commodore operates differently depending on who you are and when you arrive. For the general public, and this is any guest on the ship, the Commodore is open for dinner only. That is their window. For suite guests, however, the Commodore is reserved exclusively for breakfast and lunch. You walk in during these hours and it belongs to you and the other suite guests. There's no general admission, no crowds from the broader ship. Now, does that menu change? It does not. Same breakfast options, same lunch selections, with a rotating daily soup as the one variable. Sound familiar? It is the same situation as the Haven. Good food, consistent quality, limited rotation, and the same NCL logic applies. Free at Sea specialty dining credits are there for when you want to explore. One detail worth noting that we appreciated, the Commodore is open for lunch on both sea days and port days too. That is not universal across cruise lines, and it meant we always had a quiet sit-down lunch option available no matter what the day looked like. Here is the practical difference we noticed most. The Commodore was quieter, noticeably so. The reason is simple math. There are fewer suite cabins on the ship than there are Haven cabins, so fewer guests eligible to be in the room at breakfast and lunch. The result is a dining experience that felt genuinely unhurried, spacious, calm. The Haven restaurant has more guests moving through it, and on busier mornings you felt it. Not in a negative way, but then this is a popular space way. In fact, and this is a detail we did not know until the sailing, Haven guests are actually permitted to use the Commodore for breakfast and lunch if they choose. It's not widely advertised, but it is allowed. So now that we know that, we would absolutely consider it on a busy Haven morning for a quieter alternative. One experience that was nearly identical across both restaurants, and we mean this as a genuine compliment to the crew on both sides, was how quickly they learned who we were. After our first meal in the Commodore, the hostess knew our names and our cabin number. She sat us at the same table every visit with the same waitstaff without us requesting it. By the way, it felt like a neighborhood restaurant where you're a regular. The Haven restaurant ran the same way. Same warmth, same familiarity, same sense that you were expected rather than accommodated. That experience of being known in a dining room is one of the quieter luxuries of sailing in a premium cabin category. Both restaurants delivered it. But here is where the two paths genuinely separate. Haven guests have their restaurant for dinner. Same menu, they've had all week, same private room. It's good food, it's a familiar setting, and their specialty dining credits to rotate through when they want something different. Suite guests have a choice that is actually a little bit more flexible. The Commodore opens for dinner to all guests, meaning the exclusive breakfast and lunchroom becomes a beautifully elegant main dining room in the evening, with a menu that does change daily. Suite guests can walk into a rotating dinner menu in a room they already love at no additional cost, or they can use their specialty dining credits and go elsewhere. The daily changing menu in the Commodore is a real advantage. It gives suite guests more built-in variety without touching your specialty dining credits. Haven guests are working with a static menu or spending a credit. Just a footnote here, Haven guests can use their specialty dining credits with delivery to their room as well as from your butler, so that's a nice option. On a 7-night sailing, that difference adds up. By the way, we did confirm with our butler this afternoon, if we wanted to use specialty dining credits in our suite, we could do that as well. So that's another option. One other small detail we want to share with you is the French press coffee. And we know this is a cult classic with Haven people. The Haven restaurant offers French press coffee served at breakfast. It's a small thing, but if you're a coffee person, it's a very nice small thing. This is exclusive to the Haven. It was not offered at the Commodore breakfast. However, if it is important to you, our suite butler confirmed they will deliver it to your suite. So just ask. So how do you think about exclusive dining when choosing between the two options? Choose the Haven if You love the ritual of a private, consistent restaurant. You are happy to use their specialty dining credits for variety. The Haven restaurant is a generally lovely place. The food is good, and if you are the kind of traveler who likes knowing exactly what your morning looks like, it delivers that every single day. But choose the suite if dinner variety matters to you and you want to preserve your specialty dining credits for truly special meals. The Commodore's daily changing dinner menu gives you built-in rotation at no extra cost in an elegant room, while breakfast and lunch remains your exclusive, quiet preserve. On the fundamentals, quality, service, consistency, that feeling of being known in a dining room, these two restaurants are closer than their tier suggests. So let's go on to lounge and bar access. Every ship has bars. Every premium cabin category tells you that you have access to them. But there is a difference between having a bar on a ship and having a place. The Haven has a place, and it might be the most social, most memorable, most unexpectedly fun corner of this entire ship. The suite category does not have an equivalent. We want to be honest about that, but we also want to show you what it does have, because the answer is more nuanced than Haven wins full stop. Walk into the Haven, and before you get to the restaurant, before you get to the Sundeck, you're going to find this bar, and the first time you see it, you're going to stop. It's round, 20 seats wrapping the full circumference, and from the moment the bartenders step behind it, it's a performance. I had a drink recipe with me. It's a cocktail called Vanilla Sky. Not any menu, not that I had ever ordered on the ship. I slid the recipe across the bar, and our bartender looked at it for about 3 seconds, checked his bottles, and started building it. He didn't miss a beat. As he handed it to me, he smiled and said, "Only in the Haven." He was right, and that line has stuck with us. This is a bar. If they have the ingredients, they will make you what you want. Not just what's on the menu, what you want. This is a meaningful difference from a standard ship bar, and it speaks to the culture that the Haven creates within its own space. The bar is flanked on both sides, but we can only describe as large, well-furnished living rooms, comfortable couches, armchairs, soft lighting, the kind of space where you can genuinely settle in. During the day, we saw guests reading, playing games, working, even someone sewing. It is a room people live in, not just a bar they pass through, and in the evening, it transforms. The bar fills up, the energy shifts, and those bartenders become the centerpiece of something genuinely social. You find yourself staying longer than you plan to because the conversation is good and the drinks are better. If you are a social traveler, someone who enjoys meeting fellow guests, who gravitates towards a bar with personality, the Haven Lounge is exceptional. There is nothing like it in the suite category. We want to be clear about that going in. Suite guests have access, though, to every bar on the ship, and on the Aqua, that's a wide variety. There's different atmospheres, different menus, different energy levels throughout the day and evening. The answer is you'll find your spot. It just takes a day or two. For the kind of quiet after-dinner drink that most suite guests in this category are looking for, we found 2 places that worked for us. One was the Observation Lounge. Elevated position on the ship, beautiful sight lines. It's a calmer crowd in the evenings, we found. If you want a drink and a view and a conversation without a lot of noise around it, this has worked really well for us. The Whiskey Bar, more intimate, more refined. If that is your preference, it delivers. These are good bars, but we want to be honest, neither of them is yours in the way the Haven Lounge belongs to Haven guests. You are sharing them with the full ship, finding a seat in a space that was not specifically designed for you, building familiarity from scratch rather than walking into a room where people already know your order, and worth saying for guests who do not drink, the entire category shifts in importance. If the bar is not part of your travel rhythm, the suite's access to every venue on the ship is more than sufficient. The Haven Lounge advantage is real, but it is specifically a social drinking advantage. Keep your own travel style before you weigh it in heavily. One more option that suite guests have that is easy to undercount is your cabin. The suite rooms on the ship are large enough that your own living space becomes a legitimate after-dinner option. A drink from the bar you pick up on your way back to your room, a patio if you have it, a comfortable couch. It's not the same social experience, but it is a private one, and some travelers would choose that every time. You may be thinking, wait, didn't the Vibe Beach Club have those same entertainer bartenders? The circular bar, the names in minutes, the social energy? It did. And that was one of the genuine surprises of the Suite Week. But the Vibe closes. It's a daytime, afternoon venue, closes at 7. When the evening comes and you want the after-dinner drink in a lounge with personality, the Vibe is not the answer. The Haven Lounge is open into the night. The Suite Week had a great bar experience during the day. The Haven had a great bar experience all day. That's the honest distinction. So how does this factor into your decision? Choose the Haven if the social bar experience is part of what you love about cruising. If you are the kind of traveler who finds your people at a good bar, who enjoys bartenders with personality, who wants a lounge that feels like it belongs to you, the Haven Lounge is not a perk, it's a reason. It's that good. Choose the suite if you are more introverted in how you relax, you do not drink, or you genuinely prefer exploring a ship's different venues rather than returning to one home base. The variety of bars on the ship is real, and if you are a self-directed explorer, you will find your corners. Your cabin's living space also gives you a private retreat Haven rooms simply cannot match in square footage. This is one of the categories we will say plainly. The Haven has something the suite cannot replicate. The gap here is real. Whether it matters to you is dependent upon how you travel. Next up, priority perks, theater access, port disembarkations, the queue skipping moments that sound small on paper but feel significant in practice. So we've saved one of the most interesting categories for last before we get to the numbers. Priority perks, so it's early entry, dedicated escorting, exclusive access, loyalty rewards. This is a category where the brochure language gets the most dramatic, words like early access and priority everything. But here's what we actually experienced, and a lot of it genuinely is going to surprise you. So let's start with theater shows because this is where the brochure and the reality align almost perfectly for both categories. Haven guests and suite guests meet at the same location, at the same time, 45 minutes before showtime in the theater. Together, one group, the doors open, you all walk in and sit where you want. Same spot, same time, same experience. We're not saying that to diminish it. Early entry to a theater on a full ship is a real advantage. Getting your preferred seats, settling in before the crowd, not rushing, that matters. But we want to be precise. This is not a Haven exclusive benefit. Suite guests stand in the same priority line, walk through the same doors, enjoy the same seating flexibility. Priority disembarkation and tendering work the same way. You are given a time and a location on our ship, the Whiskey Bar, and when you arrive, the Concierge and Butler team are already there waiting for you. They direct the group, handle the logistics, move you through efficiently. Again, Haven, suite guests together. One group, same team, managing the same process for both categories. And this is where we want to share the number that the Concierge shared with us because it reframes a lot of what we had been talking about throughout this video. On the Aqua, there are 36 suite cabins on this ship. There are 123 Haven rooms. When you are standing in that priority line at the Whiskey Bar or sitting in the priority queue outside the theater, the suite guests represent a much smaller portion of the ship. The math of fewer people touches every shared priority experience on the ship, and you felt it. I want to bring up two priority perks that are genuinely exclusively Haven, and it's easy to overlook until you need it. The Haven complex has its own private keycard access elevator. Haven guests can move directly from the Haven deck to other parts of the ship and back without moving through public corridors or waiting for shared elevators to most locations. It's a small thing on a calm day. On a busy sea day when every elevator bank has a queue, it's not small at all. Suite guests do not have this. You navigate the ship like everyone else, and on this ship, that's fine. The second is the priority line for the Aqua Slide coaster, which is unique to this ship. This is an exclusive skip the line on deck 17, so separate entrance from everyone else. The skip the line is not available to suite guests. So these are two access points where the Haven draws a line that the suite categories cannot cross. Just a couple more perks worth naming because they are genuinely equal and we want to give credit where credit is due. Latitude points, NCL's loyalty program. These accrue at the same rate for Haven and suite guests. Your status builds the same way regardless of which category you book. This is not always the case across lines, so it's worth noting. Also, the captain's party was held for Haven and suite guests together, hosted by the Concierge team. Same event, same access, same experience. The pattern here is consistent. When NCL extends a priority perk on the ship, they extend it typically to both parties. The Haven's advantages, the elevator, the complex itself, the private Sundeck are architectural and physical. The experiential perks, the ones that move you through the ship with priority, are largely shared. One more thing I want to flag for families watching this, because we've talked about the adults-only vibe and the busier Haven Sundeck. We don't want to take away to be that of one of these options is unfriendly to families. That's not the point. NCL runs a genuinely strong kids club program. Our daughter used to love going there when she was a kid. Parents who book suites on this ship have a real option. Drop the kids off at the club for a few hours, head to the Vibe with your key card, have the adult afternoon you are looking for, and then reunite in a suite cabin that has room to actually spread out like a family. That combination, Vibe Pass, Kids Club, larger suite option, is a legitimate family travel strategy. We just want to name it because the value equation looks different when you factor it in. We've now been through 7 categories: Embarkation, Cabins, Butler, Concierge, Sundeck, Dining, Bar and Lounge, and Priority Perks. Before we get to the numbers, here is our honest, experience-based verdict. Choose the Haven if you want a bar with personality that becomes your living room for the week, with bartenders who know your name, will build you a cocktail off a recipe you hand them. You are traveling with family, and you want a private pool deck without worrying about the broader ship's crowd. You value the physical enclosure of the Haven complex, the sense of arriving somewhere that belongs to you, from the keycard elevator to a private Sundeck to the lounge. And you want sumptuous showroom-level cabin design that makes you feel the premium the moment you walk through the door. But choose a suite if the price difference is real to you, and it is. We are looking at somewhere between 20 to 30% less for comparable suite sailings, and in our case, it was a lot more. On a luxury cruise, that is not a rounding error. That is meaningful money. You want more cabin space and the privacy of bedroom doors separating your sleeping room from your living area. You prefer quieter mornings. The Commodore at breakfast is noticeably calmer than the Haven restaurant simply because of how many fewer guests are eligible to be there. You are drawn to the adults-only Vibe Beach Club, knowing that experience is structurally guaranteed regardless of when you sail or who else is on the ship. Or if you are a family who has figured out that Kids Club plus Vibe plus a larger cabin is actually a better equation than the Haven for your particular travel style. Here's the honest summary. The Haven is exceptional. It is one of the best private ship-within-a-ship products on the water, and it earns its premium on the right sailing. We've done it 10 times, if that tells you anything. But the suite category with the Vibe Pass delivered a cruising experience that was quieter, more adult, more spacious, and when we do the math in the next section, meaningfully more affordable. On the ship, these back-to-back sailings, the suite surprised us. We did not expect that going in. The numbers will tell the rest of the story. All right, last section, total cost of ownership here. So base fares, drink packages, gratuities, the Vibe Pass, specialty dining, everything that goes into what you actually spend, not the brochure price, but the real number. Because the question we set out to answer at the start of this video was never which category is better, it is always which one is better for you. Before we dive into the pricing, if you like our data-driven and detailed approach, give us a subscribe with notifications. You'll be the first to receive our new materials. We're small but mighty. Help us grow. So here's our pricing for our spring break cruises of 2026. So this first grid is a pricing for 2 people in a Haven HE penthouse. What I want you to pay attention to is at the very bottom right circled is the price per person per day, because that is how we look at and budget for our trips. Bottom line, the calculation is your booked fare plus anything you had to add to make these experiences equal. Now as we look at the same pricing comparison for 2 people in a suite SJ, which is the large family suite with large balcony, you can see that our price per person per day, after we added in everything that made it equal, including the Vibe Beach Club Pass and free at sea, brought our price to $458 per person per day. What this equates to in real terms is that the 2 experiences I have shown you, the Haven Penthouse HE, family suite with master bedroom and large balcony SJ, the suite was 42% cheaper per person per day. We also did a dummy booking for several cruises next year, and depending on the time of the year, we saw anywhere from 20 to 30%. But here's another secret. If you don't need the separate bedroom and you can live with a larger room with a larger balcony and still get all the suite benefits we covered, check out the forward-facing family suite for what appears to be the best pricing for the full suite experience. Big note, it's a big one. A club suite is not a suite with these benefits. Be careful. We have heard a lot of cruisers being confused on this class of room. A club suite does not get suite benefits, so don't book that one if you're looking to have the experience we did. And that's a wrap, folks. If you want a deep dive on Haven tips and tricks, check out this video we just released. And if you'd like to check out a similar experience on Celebrity XL, they have a retreat product. And we just released this tips and tricks for their retreat category. It's everything you know right here. Thanks for watching.